Geico presents Our Town, Season 2, a 30-minute podcast produced by Best Bart Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks. Geico, 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Now, here's your host, Andy Ockershausen.
This is Andy Ockershausen. This is Our Town, and it's a special treat for me to talk to somebody we go way back. This young lady worked in the WMAL sales department in the 1980s. She even won the WMAL Employee of the Year award, the first year we gave that award. And she was an incredible addition to the WMAL staff. Since she left it, she's been on her own doing extraordinary things with her life, with her camera and with her husband, another WMAL legend, Ted Lamphere, who was a news director. Together, Ted and Carol Highsmith have roamed the country. She's the official photographer of the United States Library of Congress. She is single-handedly documenting America, one state at a time. The inspiration for her life's work started in our town at the Willard Hotel. Our town keeps popping up. Welcome to Our Town, Carol Highsmith.
Thank you, Andy. You know, just coming in today, how fun it was thinking about the good times we had here. Well, and how wonderful it was when, you led the troops and we all just loved you to death, and there was nothing like it.
Well, it wasn't, and Ken is here, that our technical director, hears it all the time. There was nothing like the WML spirit. Sitting right there was Doc Walker, and he was talking about it, that he got something out of being part of WML. Even though he was doing a show, he knew what we were doing. You knew what we were doing because you were part of it.
It was so much fun. I mean, we just had a ball.
Absolutely.
And I was in sales. So here's the deal. You didn't have to sell anything. You would just go out and pick up the order. My first day, right? I had come from another number one station, KYW in Philadelphia.
Powerhouse.
Hello. So I arrived at WMAL and I went out to visit my clients first day. Somebody handed me a $30,000 order. I thought, oh dear, this is going to be so much fun.
You knew you was a jackpot, didn't you?
Yes, I thought it wasn't sales, it was PR. You just go out and smile and they say, okay, how much money do you want?
Well, everybody that sits in that chair that was part of us always talked about the people. That the people were so important in the sales department, like Bob Bowen, Pete Wysocki, Frank Ford. They were all pros. I mean, you were not with a bunch of beginners. They were pros.
Very true, but guess who our leader was? The best salesman in the world, Andy Ockershausen.
That's what I was named by Bill Rigardi.
Seriously,
sure.
How could we fail? We had at our helm someone who understood sales.
And your husband, Ted, understood it. He knew WMAL, brought in a lot of good people.
Yeah.
And then, everything changes, but we waited a long time for our change to WMAL. And now we're so happy, I'm sure you've heard, that the Redskins have finally decided to have somebody listen to them, and they brought the signal back to where it belongs, where it's always belonged, in our town on WMAL.
Yay.
But, Carol, your career has been incredible. I mean, I did not know that you were a Minnesota girl until I read about your travels from Minnesota to North Carolina. Mm-hmm. That was America. You saw it.
That was exactly the point, wasn't it? Here I was every year, my dad would buy us a new old car. And he would send me and my sister and my mother off to North Carolina and Georgia. Every year, the car would fall apart in West Virginia, and we would stay above the in the repair shop while the man got the part. And that is when I learned to love America. Because I would stare out, from the back seat and see
you saw America through the back,
whizzing by.
You can't see it in an airplane or a train, but you can see it in an automobile.
And we don't fly to this day.
We do not. Right?
We fly nowhere because there's America between here and California or Colorado or wherever I'm going to be. Hello?
I'll buy that. You're so right. Your dad was a traveling salesman, and he reached grandmother's America, roadside America.
Yeah.
That's your granddad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it was in my family. I mean, it was just in our blood, really, almost.
And you went to defunct Parsons College?
I did. I went to Parsons College.
Fairfield, Iowa.
Parsons
What,
College.
did somebody emerge them?
No, here's the deal. Okay, because I was very wild in high school. I went to a private school, and didn't really apply myself very well. So my dad kind of paid my way into Parsons College. It was all wealthy kids, okay? And it was written up in Life magazine as the wildest college in America. So I loved it. Of course I loved it. How could I not love it? So you couldn't go from Parsons College to just some normal job. You had to stay with it. And that's why WMAL was so perfect.
You were part of a family.
Well,
the family adopted you and vice versa.
Well, I had to have fun, and we had a ball.
But why would you pick Washington? Because you'd had all this experience across the great hinterland.
Yeah.
But you ended up in Philadelphia
Yep.
with KYW?
KYW, yeah. Well, I worked in New York when I was 21.
What did you do in New York?
I was with a television radio rep firm.
Oh, I got it. Sure.
Yeah, so that was fun.
What was the name of your firm?
Peters, Griffin, and Woodward.
PGW.
Yeah.
I knew him quite well.
I just loved it. I was 21, wet behind the ears. People used to say to me, "Where's Minneapolis?" I thought I kind of was, kind of from someplace important. Well, maybe not. Nobody knew where it was from. But anyway,
PGW was a big outfit.
PGW was enormous, and I got, I learned kind of a lot from that, and loved being in
Great
New York.
experience.
Then I moved on to Philadelphia, and worked for Channel 17, and then went on to KYW, and that's where I started sales. And it was just a natural for me. I mean, I love sales. And then I went, and then I decided to leave Philadelphia, and that's when I came down here.
That's when you started in sales in Philadelphia.
I did.
But you weren't in sales at PGW, in research?
No, I was just starting out.
Okay.
Really, I was just a...
Great experience.
I went to apply for the job, and the woman said, "Well, what are your, credentials?" I said, "Well, I have 2 hands." She said, "You're hired."
That's a break for you. So you come to Washington, and you get into this madhouse, and through contacts that you made as part of your life here in Washington, I don't want to say this the way it sounds, but I'll say it anyway. It's like you started a new life.
I really kind of did.
Because of Washington.
I did. Yeah, I won a trip to Russia through a sales contact. Actually, Russia and China.
You're incredible.
And our riot.
You were winning
and I was
everything.
able to put together my own deals. I'm the queen of deals.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
you're a manipulator.
I really am. So anyway, I went to Russia, and a friend of mine handed me a camera before I left. And
Wow.
and of course you couldn't take any bad photograph over there because it
That was your first
fascinating.
experience?
That was.
As a photographer.
And I went all the way out to Siberia. And so I just
Alone?
click, click, click. Well, I was with a group. You didn't go to Russia by yourself. No, you
Not
did
then,
not.
right.
And they followed you everywhere you went. It was fascinating.
Oh, sure. To get to Siberia?
Oh, are you kidding me? I
By
loved
train,
every
of
moment.
course.
By
didn't fly.
train, absolutely. And, it had just opened up. But they were still following you everywhere you went. So all of
This
that
is in
was
the late 80s?
That was actually, no. It was in the early 80s.
Well, you were still here at
yes,
WMAL.
I was still here. Actually, it might have been the late 70s. It had just opened up.
I got you.
And then I went to China, and that was the same thing. I took a lot of photographs. So
But
I
you were
came
doing
back.
that as an individual, just having a good time.
I was. And then I started going to the Corcoran School of Photography at night. And
While you were here at
While I
WMAL?
was. And then WMAL actually helped pay for that. They helped pay for that, and also I went to American University, and I wrote my own photography program. They let me do that. And anyway, so WMAL continued to
Who
help
owned
me.
us then? Disney?
Well,
ABC, I think.
ABC.
Yeah, they were very generous in the employees
They
getting
really
further
did.
education.
I know. I actually graduated from American University because of that. So, I just went to night school. It was
Right.
fabulous.
You
So
worked hard,
anyway,
sold
one
a lot,
day,
made a lot of money.
because of you, I was also welcomed into the Washington Board of Trade.
Magnificent.
I know. And met Oliver Carr. And I said to him one day, "Gee whiz, I would love to get into the Willard Hotel and just see what it looks like." So he opened it up for me, and it was like, a war zone. Oh, my God. It was horrible. And so I took photographs in there with rats the size of cats and so on and so forth.
When they were doing the
Now,
rebuilding.
before anyone got in there, 2 years I spent learning photography in the Willard Hotel.
Where does Bud Doggett come into this story? Did he introduce you to Ollie, or is it just around? Or
No, he was
somewhere?
always a friend. He used to call me all the time.
Absolutely.
But
But Ollie was the man.
Ollie was really the man, and you know that I still know him very well. I still work for his company. So
as a matter of fact,
I was at his 90th birthday.
I've got to call. I'm going to call him to ask him to be on Our Town. He'll do it because we were friends from way back.
Oh, he'll do it.
He's got triplets now, of course. And they're probably old now, aren't they?
They're older. Yes, they're
20s.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would say probably maybe before that, beyond that. But anyway,
so you're shooting the Willard while it's being rehabbed.
I did, and I taught myself photography there. So it was just fascinating.
You didn't really come with any credentials other than yourself.
Just me.
Right.
So Ollie let me then carry on and continue following the Willard renovation all the way through. So that's what I did. So here I am at the and then I went on down Pennsylvania Avenue, following all the restoration, including where the Trump Hotel is today.
Oh, the post office.
All of it. Now listen to this, okay? So all of it was just in a state of disarray. Pennsylvania Avenue hadn't been touched since 1968, when President Nixon had a party in the Willard Hotel and gave away doors as door prizes. No, it was it was wild.
Doors from the hotel, but that's smart.
No, it was just wild. And then they had an auction. Everybody ripped everything off. I mean, it was just trash. And as I said, I had rats following me around.
What years did they empty the?
1968, they closed it. And reason they closed it, Martin Luther King wrote his "I Have a Dream" speech there. He finished it up in there. Okay.
In the Willard.
And when he was killed, Washington burned all around the Willard Hotel.
Tell me about it.
And the Willard Hotel was so desperate. The Holiday Inn was kind of taking over at that time. The Willard Hotel covered their columns with vinyl to try to look like the Holiday Inn, because they didn't know what to do. Nobody was coming downtown. No one.
I know. Tell me about it.
It was frightening. It was a frightening place. Washington, D.C., 2 blocks from the White House. It was frightening.
They burned it. We flew over it.
They burned it.
Carol, but when did Oliver buy these properties?
Okay, so there was another firm that came in. So they started a quasi-government foundation or corporation called Pennsylvania Avenue Development Corporation. Yeah.
Was Berliner running that?
Yes.
Hank Berliner?
Yes. Hank Berliner was running it, and it was kind of half quasi-government is what it was. But anyway, so they had some problems. They had someone who was going to restore it, and then he kind of got involved and found out it was a lot of money to restore it. So he didn't. And also the fear of, will anyone come?
Will they come back downtown?
If you restore a 4-star hotel and no one comes, you're dead. So Oliver Carr really stuck his neck out to do that.
He sure did.
And it really was it was the beginning of the restoration of Pennsylvania Avenue. No question.
The developer. It had to be. It was like the anchor.
So I spent
the whole thing.
17 years recording it. I went to Pennsylvania Avenue Development Corporation. I said, look, you get me aerials. I want aerial views. I want all of it. And I will do this for almost nothing. And so I did it. I did this. I did the old post office where the Trump Hotel is now. I went down to, believe it or not, Matthew Brady, the Civil War photographer's old studio where he photographed Lincoln. Sears bought it. And they hired me to come in and do the glory shots of it. But anyway, so I follow the Willard, right, all the way through to opening. The night before opening, I hear this knock on the door. We're working all night to do the glory shots of the Willard Hotel. It's Mary Martin and Carol Channing knocking on the door. So I look out and I go, oh, Mary Martin, I saw you in Peter Pan in New York.
And Carol Channing?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
I opened the door.
Superstars.
They said, we were in a play in the National Theater, and there was a bomb scare, and we all had to get out, and the whole audience wants our autograph. Can you let us in? I said, I'll let you in if you'll let me take a photograph. So they sat for me, and I took this photograph. Wow. I was so excited.
Superstars.
I didn't know what to do with myself. So anyway, while I'm in the Willard Hotel, the restorer of the Willard Hotel comes in about 2 years after I've been there with a mitt full of old photographs. And I said, what's that? And he said, they have no architectural drawings. This is the only way they can put the hotel back together again, is these these photographs. And he said, they're all down in the Library of Congress. And he said, I'll bring you down there. So I went down to the Library of Congress and I saw this woman's collection.
That was your first introduction?
That was. I didn't even know what the Library of Congress was almost. I mean, what's
Right.
the Library of Congress, you know? So I went down there and I found out this woman who was this blazing alcoholic who knew
happy alcoholic.
who knew Teddy Roosevelt very well. Okay.
Wow.
And he sent her around. And Andrew Carnegie sent her to the South to photograph the plantations of the South. That was the world she lived in. And I saw her collection, which is kind of the cornerstone of the Library of Congress's 15 million images. And so I went down there, I saw her collection of the Willard, and I told the Library of Congress that day, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what she did, only during my lifetime. And then I went home and I thought, what have I done? I said, here's the two things you've done that are dumb. You're giving away your collection to the Library of Congress, and you're photographing America. Excuse me, you're taking photographs. You know, everybody's taking photographs, number one. And number two, you're doing America. You know, well.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are, several years later. So the Library of Congress staff looked at me like I was out of my mind, and I probably was.
Well, let's back up here
Okay,
now.
okay, we're backing up.
Let's go back. You leave WMAL. You're in the photography
Yep,
bug has bitten you.
I mean.
Where does Ted Lanphier, then, your manager, your best friend, and your lover, come into the picture?
Okay, so
Ted was our news director.
So the Willard Hotel opens, okay, and they have a show of my work and this woman's work. And so that's when Ted and I started to start dating again. He moved back to Washington from New Orleans, and he started working in the government, Voice of America.
Right.
And somebody that knew us said, you ought to see Carol Highsmith. And all he remembered of me is just like whiz, because I would just go be
lightning.
Yeah. Always on my way out. Yeah. He was in the newsroom, and I was always on my way out to see someone and have
You're going
fun.
to make a sale or collect.
Right.
That's why you were successful. You were always on your way somewhere.
I was.
This is Our Town, Andy Ockershouse, and we're talking to Carol Highsmith, one of the real stars of Our Town, and we'll be right back.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to Our Town.
This is Our Town, and Andy Ockershouse, and I'm talking to Carol Highsmith, one of the retired WMAL stars. But thankfully, she did not leave Our Town. In fact, she almost took it over by doing some excellent work with her camera, which she got introduced to because she won a contest or something at WMAL. Had never taken a picture in your life until that trip. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And now you're world-class photographer.
Well, I'm recording America. I'm doing what Dorothea Lange did in the 40s. And matter of fact, I'm in that collection. The Library of Congress has 15 million images. It's considered the most historic on Earth. And I'm very honored to say I'm featured in the top 6 collections of those 15 million images, along with Dorothea Lange and Matthew Brady. And Matthew Brady's studio was also where I spent time documenting Pennsylvania Avenue. But anyway,
It's our town. I mean, Pennsylvania
I
Avenue is our town. But and then you went to the other end of Capitol Hill, so you've covered us on both sides, right? The Library of Congress is on Capitol Hill,
right?
But the Willard is next to the White House.
Well, I also photographed Union Station. I did. I went to Union Station. I spent 17 years documenting the restoration of Pennsylvania Avenue, and then
still going on.
Oh, I know it is. I realize that in so many ways. I mean, the Trump Hotel is a very good case in point.
Oh, I know.
And now I work for General Services Administration all over the country, too. So, but then I went on to Union Station, documented all of Union Station, the whole restoration. And then I went to the management Union Station. I said, why don't you do a book? Because the Willard Hotel had opened without a book, and people called me from all over the world. And the Washington Post photographed me photographing all of the employees of the Willard Hotel on opening day. So, I mean, it's crazy. It was nuts. You had to have a book. So anyway, I went to them. They said, well, we don't do books. I said, okay, I'll become a publisher and I'll do a book. So I did.
Well, good for you.
And the opening day, I sold about 10,000 copies of that book.
Oh. I knew it. I knew you'd bamboozle somebody, Highsmith. Carol, but the things you have done, and now it reminds me of what was the great radio show that was on CBS by Charles Carroll?
Yes, Sunday morning.
He traveled America on the back roads.
He did. That's right.
And I think about you when I hear about that.
I think about him also,
oh
and
my
what
God.
it must have been like for him back then, even, and just what it's like for me now, and how much fun it is.
Have you done the back roads too? And America is not freeways; they're roads.
You have to understand something. My whole life, really, me and Ted, is back roads of America. I mean, I've spent Lincoln Highway, Route 66. I've done to death. Small towns. It's rural America that I'm interested in. Not I mean, I do obviously city neighborhoods in New York and everything, but I'm also very interested in our back roads and our weenie bean towns, I call them. I mean, they're gorgeous, and it is America. That is what America.
Country, absolutely.
Oh man!
and you're able to photograph it and do something with those photographs.
Well,
now,
I'm donating.
Going to have an exhibit, I hope.
Well, no.
America.
What I'm doing is I'm donating my entire collection of photographs. I have gone from working in large format, 4x5 film, to I am now using the highest digital camera made on Earth.
Wow.
And I bought it. Okay, that's what I come to the map with. But the real important aspect of this is that it is not for now I'm doing this. It's for 1,000 years from now or 5,000 years from now. That is correct. Because there's no better place to give your work than the Library of Congress. That's what they do. They do preservation.
Right.
And so that when, I hate to tell you, your cell phone is over and the images on your cell phone are gone, because I've lived enough life to know things change.
Tell me about it.
Remember when we started in video, it was real thick and, all of those, you can't even get a video recorder of anything to read it at this point.
Carol, it passed me by years ago. I have a tough time with the cell phone, so.
Yeah.
But I didn't go up with it, so I did not know it.
So technology is going to change, and as it does,
every day.
Well, it changes every day, and we're living in this fast-paced, who knows what. What I'm saying is, so that's the importance of me giving it to some place that I know many thousands of years from now, it can be read. What did America look like during this time?
What was it? Oh
there are a lot of, let me just say this, there's a lot of towns that you can go into where you can still see buildings that were originally there in the very beginning of the town. Even here, even Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. Our town has got a lot of history.
It does. And so just riding down 13th Street, all those row houses, how long have they been there? All of it. And I'm following in the footsteps of a woman who worked at the turn of the last century, Frances Benjamin Johnston. She's very famous. And she lived on 13th Street. And I ride by where her house used to be. And I think she saw what I'm seeing. 13th Street.
That's where I was born.
Was
327 13th Street.
Oh, I love it.
A row house.
Yes.
We're watching a show on HGTV. And people are moving in this little skinny house. And I said, what in the world is that, a row house? And I said, I grew up in a row house. What am I saying? That's all there was.
Yes.
You could almost reach your arms out and touch both sides of it.
Oh, it's fabulous.
Not quite. But anyway, Carol, what you're doing for America is sensational. And what you're doing for our future, I hope. I asked this question of Janice. She didn't know. Janice is my producer, my boss. Are you a videographer?
Videographer? No. I tell you what I do. I take mainly still photographs. That's all I take, actually.
Right.
Why? That is what I do.
Right.
Okay?
Stills.
Because I feel that it's really important to be able to study those. So if I took a photograph of you right now, I could study the glasses you wear, your haircut, what shirt you have on. And 1,000 years from now, that might be quite fascinating. But that's why I take stills.
You can study them.
So that you can stop and you can look into them and study them.
You're documenting America.
I'm documenting the United States. I just finished Colorado, the entire states of Colorado, Wyoming.
Wow.
California, Texas. I've been funded to do all of these states. Alabama.
And you just drive from city to city?
We decide from ranches to, what's in Colorado? It's never ending. We were there for a year. In Wyoming and Colorado, I was there for a year. I did all the seasons. Yellowstone, National Park, Denver. What are steam trains?
And
They're
you're
still
on a
running.
mission to get it all done, all 50.
My mission is to finish photographing America. What's valuable that I have to bring to the plate is that I can also handle interiors. A lot of photographers don't know how to photograph an interior, and I kind of started photographing interiors from the Willard Hotel.
Right.
So I can go into the president's mansion or whatever and photograph it, and it looks good, hopefully. And I'm all that. Yes, because I have experience, and I'm on this very high-end camera, which is helpful. But I'm interested in a visual study of our nation that people can.
You're doing this for the future.
I'm doing it for the future.
And speaking of that, the future is now, and this is Our Town with Carol Highsmith.
Are you still promising yourself or your spouse to get your will updated and a good basic estate plan in place? Are you finally ready to make sure you don't leave a mess behind for your family to clean up? Give me just 2 hours and I'll show you how. I'm attorney Mike Collins, host of radio's Legally Speaking show. Come to my seminar and I'll teach you what you need to know about wills, trusts, taxes, probate, how to keep your money in your family. Register now at MikeCollins.com and I'll even waive the tuition. That's MikeCollins.com.
Hi, Tony Sybil here to tell you about Tony and Joe's and Nick's Riverside Grill at Washington Harbor in Georgetown. Spectacular new restaurants. We've spent a lot of time rebuilding. You'll love it. It's really fantastic. For any information, you can go online to TonyandJoes.com. It'll be a wonderful experience for the whole family. Call 202-944-4545 to make reservations. Everything is fabulous. You got to come down and have some wonderful food.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
This is Andy Ockershausen, and I'm having a wonderful conversation with a WMALer, Carol Highsmith, and reading about your awards and the things you have done in the Jefferson Memorial image for the USPS, this exclusive photographer for the American Institute of Architects. The 210, she photographed Alabama as the first state in her 21st Century America project. Carol, this goes on and on and on. In 2011, the Library of Congress acquired 6,500 images from Carol's collection of her work in America that dates from 1980 to 2001. You are prolific.
Oh, well,
I have
about 42,000 up there now. But the real key, Andy, is that anyone in the entire earth can download these and use them.
And that's the first time that's ever been possible.
It promotes America, and that's what I'm interested in doing. So many people take photographs that are just kind of like their thumbs in it half the time. So my task is to show it in a wonderful way, the way it should be seen, the way I see America.
Well, and it's the real America is what you're doing. You're off the main road.
Right.
But, Carol, you have so many experiences. We were talking about you... and you mentioned you're very careful of what you eat on the road because you never know when you go from state to state. And that's something I hadn't even thought about, but that's very important that you're ready to photograph. You're not doing this for any reason, but you love it.
Well, I'm out there every day. I don't remember the last day I've taken off. I'm out there usually 13 hours a day. Certainly in the summertime I am. I walk 10 to 25,000 steps a day. I'm very careful about what I eat.
But that's your life, of course.
But it's my life. because it would be very easy to get into fast food and all that kind of stuff, and I just won't go there.
Yeah,
I won't
you don't know
do
what
it.
that's going to do.
Yeah, I just am very careful. But because I want the energy. I want the energy that it takes to go out, and I'm going to be in very hot weather this summer. I know it. I'll probably lose 30 pounds just off that. Yay.
Is your summer all laid out now?
All laid out. So almost. We're leaving a little bit of wiggle room just in case we want to go here, there, and everything. But I have a research director. I'll say to him, okay, I want this town, that town, that. I want a lot of small towns. I want Pentecostal churches in Mississippi. I'm doing Mississippi. I want
You pick the states and let them...
No, the states have been funded. When the states get funded and can pick up my hotel, our hotel, and Ted, as you know, goes with me. We can cover our expenses, and I go do the state. And so I'm doing about 6 states this year. So Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Then I probably am coming back and doing New Jersey and on to Oregon and Washington. So I have a lot of work. But the key is that, I love it. We love it. Ted and I.
Oh, sure. This is not work to you.
No, it's so much fun.
Oh, my God.
But I've had incredible experiences. So I went to Las Vegas, right? I went to Las Vegas to do a book for Random House. Random House sent me out first. That's how I got to really tour America through Random House. They redid a book series. They sent me out. So I called, the people in Las Vegas. I said, I'd like to come out and do a book for Random House. They said, they yawned and said, well, that's nice. Click. That was the end of that. So I called them in a few more months, and they said, well, they didn't care because they had so much press. Finally, I wrote, who's the man that wrote My Way for Frank Sinatra? Paul Anka. He was going to appear there. I wrote Paul Anka. And I said, okay, Paul, I'm coming to Las Vegas. And if you would let me take photographs of you, I said, I promise not to swoon, even though you were just my all and everything when I was little. He thought it was the funniest email he'd ever received. And he let me come. And he spent 5 hours with me. Wow. And when I finished with Paul Anka, he said, well, who else are you photographing? I said, nobody else will respond to me. He said, when I finish tonight, he said, in the morning, they'll all be calling you. So I photographed Siegfried and Roy. I was on the stage with them and their tigers. Went to their private apartment with David Feld, who owns the circus, as you know. And that's the next story.
Local guy from our town.
Yeah, that's right. So he was in the apartment with me with Siegfried and Roy. So we get the lion all set up. And Siegfried and Roy are on either side.
What happened to the tiger?
Well, the tigers were on stage with them. I also did that. Okay. But this was in their private apartment. So I was doing an image for the book. So I get them all set up. And then the lion decided he wanted to take out Siegfried's shoulder. He went, and Siegfried kind of moved over this way. I thought, oh no, what am I going to do?
You were just watching the lion.
So anyway, finally he settled down and we got the photograph and it was wonderful. But I recently, however, I also decide things. So the elephants are leaving the circus. Whoa, that's enormous. So I called the circus. I said, look, I have to record this. This is for the Library of Congress. This is for 100 years from now.
This is for life.
And people will be fascinated that the elephants were ever in the circus. I have to photograph them on this 100 megapixel camera. So they let me come in, do 2 or 3 shows.
Did you do it in Sarasota?
No, I did it here, actually,
on the
when
road,
they were here.
Then. Oh, I got
when they were here.
Well, the Fells would set that up for you.
Yep. So
that's still a controversy, isn't it? I guess they gave into it, didn't they?
They let them go. They let the lion.
Fells decided they're not going to have them anymore.
Well, the controversy is the circus is closing.
I know it's America is losing something so deep into our psyche,
man.
And it's all because of the modern world. What do you call that?
Wild.
Politically correct.
Well, you move on. But that's why it's so important to visually document it.
Absolutely.
Because if you didn't, and people, maybe everybody's taking photographs everywhere you go, but that doesn't mean these photographs are going to be seen or around. When the cell phone,
this will all be a lifetime record.
It'll be a lifetime record. That's the key, and done correctly. That's the most important piece of it.
You're a professional.
Well, I hope so. I learned from the master.
Oh,
Are you
not
kidding
from
me?
Janet. Wait, Carol, where is that going to be? The Library of Congress, the circus? Did you give the fellows copies of what you did?
I haven't yet, but I'm about ready to. I haven't really actually totally finished the collection that I did. But so I photograph the states, the cities, the towns, the little weenie bean towns. The people, the road, and the Library of Congress never says to me, no, don't do this, don't do that. What's America? It's a million things. It's our national parks. It's our little towns. It's our Route 66.
It was our circus, too.
It was our circus. But that's why it's so important to record it.
You got to get it on record.
You have to get it on. I flew 9/11. I flew the World Trade Center from New Jersey on a perfectly beautiful day and put it in the can, large format film. 2 months later, gone. Did I know? Sometimes I don't know what will be there and what won't. The most important thing is that I do it, that I photograph it.
So you have those towers on still photographs from the New Jersey shore.
I do.
And that's
from
in
the air.
You were in an airplane or a helicopter?
I was in a helicopter.
And that's now at the Library of Congress.
It is, yes. So anybody from all over the world, and billions of people come on their website all the time.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
They're enormous. So, there they are, America.
But it was just happenstance. You weren't involved with the attackers, were you?
No, it was happenstance, but a lot of things are happenstance.
That's
true. I
when you're
take
things,
and did I know when I took the elephants the circus would be closing? No, I didn't know that.
You were just doing it as a good story.
Well, no, I knew the elephants were leaving, but I thought, the elephants...
That they keep the circus alive.
Certainly, but then I knew, the tigers probably had to be next, and I'd have to go down to get those.
All the wild animals.
And in the meanwhile...
Politically correct.
They knew that eventually it was going to people just stopped coming. In the meanwhile, people drove the train to get rid of the elephants off of, it's all kind of a come around and go around.
Did you shoot them getting on and off the train?
I didn't. I regret that.
Right here in Washington, there were two places that I would go as a young child to watch the circus unload off of the trains and watch. They called them roustabouts that would put in the pegs. To put in the pegs that hold the tents.
Wow! And
they would stand around a peg like four guys with not hatchets, sledgehammers, and one at a time. It was a rhythm.
How
boom,
fun!
Boom, boom. That would have been a great photo.
I know.
It's in my mind somewhere.
Somebody probably took photographs of that, though.
That's the way they get the stuff in the ground.
But see, that's the Library of Congress. 15 million images. They have a lot of that type of thing.
They do. That was an art form.
They said in the Dorothea Lange file, for instance, same collection I'm in, that some of her images tell a tale different than what somebody might have told. But because it's a visual document, it tells a different story sometimes.
Well, whatever it was, it has to be real. I
know.
Here it is.
So anyway,
I've been legitimate, but it was real.
I've been funded either by wealthy people or the Library of Congress to do many of the states.
Right.
I'm still searching for funding to finish it up. I'll probably be working for about another 10 years.
Wow. Well, you got a lot more time than that, Carol. How about another 50 years? Go for the goal, honey.
Well, I love it so much, I'll tell you, it would be very hard for me to give it up.
I believe
I must.
It's
I
your
must
life.
admit, it is my life.
Every day is another challenge.
And without Ted Landfair, I don't know what I would be.
No.
I mean, he drives and he does all the writing and he, keeps me honest.
Well, he's enjoying it too. Okay.
Oh, we both just love it.
He's a brilliant guy.
Oh, he is. And he helps me so much. Just in deciding what we're going to photograph and how we're going to go at it and how we're going to go from place to place. But, can you imagine going from, I'm going down to do some things down in South Carolina and then going and photographing Jimmy Carter teaching Sunday school.
Peanuts.
And, peanuts. And then the drive along the way. How fun. It's just great.
You will.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Carol, do you have a favorite time of day?
No. I just love all of it. Dusk is fun. Early morning's fun. Midday, in the middle of the day is fun, being out in the fields, whatever. It just depends on what the deal is, where you are, what you're doing.
It's our world, isn't it?
It is.
And it's our town, and Carol Highsmith, you're such an important part of our town. I'm so glad that you gave up Philly for us. And so glad that you discovered WMAL and all the great things you did for us. And we just wish you nothing but the best, and the same for Ted. And I can't say any more than thank you for our town.
Well, thank you for all you've taught me, Andy. I mean, we learned a lot from you, if you only knew. Without our leader, what would we have done? I don't know.
Carol, I was just fortunate to have people that everybody smiled, and that's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Carol Highsmith. This has been Our Town, and a wonderful discussion. If you don't go to the Library of Congress and see these exhibits, you're making a huge mistake.
You can do it online.
Give us your online address.
Yeah, well, it's Library of Congress prints and photographs. You can go and just see it. And then I'm in the top 6, so I'm shown right in the top.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
This has been Our Town with Andy O.
You've been listening to Our Town, Season 2, presented by Geico, our hometown favorite, with your host, Andy Ockershausen. New Our Town episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. Drop us a line with your comments or suggestions. See us on Facebook or visit our website at OurTownDC.com. Our special thanks to Ken Hunter, our technical director, and WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. for hosting our podcast. And thanks to Geico. 15 minutes can save you 15% or more on car insurance.